What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. It's Monday. See what time it is. Time for the mock draft Monday. We have done 2 drafts for 12-team leagues. We're going to go to a 10-team league. This time we've done drafts from the 9 and the 6 spot, so we'll randomize. Try not to get one that's one away from either one of those. We're going to go back to half PPR this time. Okay, we have the 4 pick. Good enough for us. Back to half PPR this time. We're going to change up roster a little bit. I thought it'd be fun to do 2 flex spots. So 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 2 flex, which will not be a tight end. It'll be running back and wide receiver for us, 6 bench, and then the defense spot. As I've said before, just generically thinking when you're in leagues like this or leagues that have 3 wide receiver spots, understand that you have increased the amount of starting running backs and wide receivers, because again, you can start a tight end here, but we're not going to. That's not optimal. And you have just increased the amount that those positions make up of the starting lineup, decrease the amount that quarterback and tight end make up of the starting lineup. So if you're in a league like that, it devalues quarterback and tight end just a little bit. Not that much, but if it's ever 50-50, devalues those, and you're leaning towards running back wide receiver, because you could start 4 running backs or 4 wide receivers in a setup like this. I like these sorts of leagues. It just gives optimal flexibility. You really can just be like, what's the value in this draft, and take advantage of that. So down here for positional values, honestly, I think in every one of these mock drafts this season, we're going to stick to very high for quarterback. I fully expect quarterbacks to go early in drafts this season. We're seeing them really high on Underdog. You're going to see them pushed back in redraft leagues because for Underdog, it's best ball. So if you're looking at best ball ADP, understand in your hometown league, ADPs will be a little bit further behind that for quarterbacks, but still I expect it to be high this season. And then let's put high on wide receiver. We haven't touched anything else, but I think wide receiver is going to go high as well this season. So let us do that. So with that, did I switch it to a 10-team league? If I didn't, you're getting a 12-team league. We're not going to start it over, but we'll see what we did. Oh, good. I switched. All right. So first pick. Whoa! Bijan goes at number 3. So Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson. First 3 picks off the board. Pull up the cheat sheet here. We will hide hide drafted players, not the tiers. I would not say that this is unrealistic. If you have watched Underdog ADPs, Bijan is the number 2 running back coming off boards right now. It's at number 7. I think he's going behind. I want to say the ADPs have Cup. Well, it'd be Jefferson, Chase, McCaffrey, Cup, Kelsey, and then I don't know. It's not Eckler. Tyreek Hill, and then Bijan. I think that's kind of like what's happening right now on Underdog. So our choice here. I'm not going to go Kelsey. If we look at, it's up on the website right now, the draft strategy app where it simulates a bunch of draft strategies, kind of tells you what's optimal. Tight end this early, probably not optimal. As we work into like the later first round, after we exit, kind of the players that I just talked about, like those truly elite players, the top, 3-4 each, like running back, wide receiver position, like once those are off the board and we're really looking at that second tier, now we're looking at Kelsey. He can be a true difference maker, and we don't have to like pick first amongst a group of players that's going to be exactly the same in the next round. Might as well take Kelsey. But when we're looking at it here, I could take, Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, Austin Eckler, like really, really, really good players, true difference makers. I'm thinking that's a better route. Now, I will say this. I've already drafted Jamar Chase and Travis Kelsey, I think, in the last 2 mock draft Mondays, at least from what I remember. So I want to do things a little bit differently. What I think we'll do is we'll take Austin Eckler in this one. Maybe we'll end up with a Hero RB build. I don't think we've done that one yet. But we'll start off with running back in the first round. It's a very common build from the 4 pick. And it'll give us a different build than we've seen the past few weeks. And it's not like a bad pick, obviously. If Austin Eckler is going to stay with the Chargers, which I think he's going to do, he's obviously going to be a very, very good pick in fantasy, and this is probably where he'll end up going. So after I go, Barkley, Chase, Jonathan Taylor, Travis Kelce, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill rounds out the first round. Adams, Derrick Henry, CeeDee Lamb, Jacobs, AJ Brown, Tony Pollard is round 2. The only thing I see there as being probably not going to happen is Derrick Henry. He's going much later than that. He's going too late right now, but on Underdog, I mean, he's going in like the 3rd round. I think I got him as my 3rd running back. I tweeted out the team. I can't remember who the first 2 were, but I think off the top of my head, it was maybe Eckler and Saquon. I think I went like Eckler, Saquon, Derrick Henry as the first 3 running backs. So he's going later. Again, I don't agree with it, but a little later than 202 where we went there. So who's on the board for us? We're not going Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is going to be a 3rd round pick for us. If he's there at that next pick, maybe we consider it, but we're not going to go there at round 2. It's too early. We're at pick 17. Even on Underdog, that 17, it's like 18, 19, 20 is a general range where quarterbacks are going that first tier. In redraft, they bump further down. We're not looking at quarterback. We already took the running back, so we can go hero or B. We've got one more, at least as far as they're concerned. I guess tier 2 for them, running back in Nick Chubb. They've also got one more tier 2 wide receiver in Stephon Diggs. Let's think about where we're going to be at our next pick. 6 picks will go by. Not really worth looking at what the teams kind of have. They could really do anything with these picks. So what 6 do we kind of expect to come off the board? Chubb will absolutely be gone. And I would say maybe like Chubb and Stevenson are likely to be drafted. So at running back, we're probably choosing between like Etienne, Breece Hall, Najee, Walker. Like honestly, we probably just wouldn't take running back. If Chubb or Stevenson were not there, we're not going running back with the next pick. I would also think Diggs would go, probably Amon St. Brown and Garrett Wilson. I would say it's likely that we get Chubb, Stevenson, Diggs, Amon St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, and then the 6th one, and honestly it would be 7 because we're going to take one of those players, is maybe a quarterback and then one of the either a wide receiver or running back that we're not really thinking about right now. So it's going to be not ideal for us at the next pick, most likely. We could probably go with quarterback, and that's probably what our lean would be to say, take our favorite between Chubb and Diggs. After that happens, take whichever one of the top 3 running backs is still on the board. So how do we like our team if that happens? For me, I mean, I don't even think I need to look at the rankings. Stephon Diggs is my 12th overall ranked player. Getting him at 17, getting half a round of value this early is phenomenal. Chubb is literally right behind that. He's actually the 13th ranked player. So if you wanted to go with Chubb, you could. I'm a little bit intrigued with going a hero RB with this one. So let's go with Diggs. If Stevenson's there, we can definitely take a look at that. He's not. It went similarly to how we thought. So Chubb, Amon St. Brown, Stevenson come off the board. But it's running back heavy. Breece Hall, Etienne, Najee Harris, people really loading up on these running backs, which we can now take advantage of. Maybe the computer will draft differently, but if I'm sitting here in this league, I'm like, okay, I'm using this to my advantage. They have 3 running backs. The odds they go for a 4th running back in rounds 4 and 5 is much, much lower. So if we're looking at someone in round 4, much better chance that if they're playing running back, they're going to be there in round 5 for us because those 2 teams are probably not taking running back. So we'll keep that in the back of our mind. None of the running backs that we wanted, Chubb or Stevenson, fell to us, so we're not taking running back. None of the quarterbacks go, so quarterback definitely in consideration for us. Even in a redraft league, at pick 20, I have that run of quarterback going. We're at 24, that's good value. However, pick 22, I have Garrett Wilson. He's the top wide receiver on the board. Again, no to running back, no to tight end. So we're basically saying, do we want Garrett Wilson or do we want one of these quarterbacks? If we look at their ADP on the left, Mahomes pick 31, Allen pick 33, Hurts pick 35. I don't actually know what 407 would end up being, but definitely possible one of them is there, in which case you crush the league if you ended up getting that. Part of me wants to disallow that because I'll do that. So I will say If Mahomes, Allen, or Jalen Hurts are on the board in my round 4 pick, I'm disallowing it. I'm saying no, we will manually add them into some other team. I just don't see this season that happening, especially in like a 10-team league. Now, remember what we talked about before. We'll pull up the roster over here. We've got these 2 flex spots. So number 1, it is devalued, so maybe it does end up happening. But number 2, we don't want to be afraid of like loading up on like running back or wide receiver. So I'm just thinking a sharp pick here is Garrett Wilson. We know he's going to be an absolute stud. He's already one of the better wide receivers in the league. You don't want to call him, like a top 5 wide receiver. Like, he still needs to show it to us again, but like, we know he's going to at some point be a top 5 wide receiver. He's just going to be. Maybe that's this season. He's obviously got much improved quarterback play. Like, sky's the limit for Garrett Wilson this season. I just think makes a lot of sense to go with him. All of them do come off the board, so we don't need to make any manual adjustments. Good. Josh Allen, Mahomes, and Hurts all go in round 3. Mark Andrews goes in round 4 for wide receivers. Waddle, Olave, Higgins, Devonta Smith come off the board. And then for running back, Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, Ken Walker, and Cam Akers all off the board. So very even. 4 running backs, 4 wide receivers, 3 quarterbacks, and the 1 tight end you were considering. So we've got Hockenson. He's their top player. That's interesting. He's my 33rd ranked player, and we're at 37. So certainly possible. And actually, taking a brief glance, he's my 2nd ranked player still on the board. Number 1, who we're probably going to go with, but we can take that risk. So Gibbs, my number 1 ranked player on the board. I have him 21st. Huge value. Remember what we talked about. These 2 teams probably not taking Gibbs. So we're only probably in contention with De'Ami Vice here. So it's interesting. If we miss on Gibbs, Pierce is still there, Miles Sanders still there, Dobbins, Mixon. Montgomery a little bit later. Big drop-offs after that. For wide receiver, where do we have the rankings here? So all of those players off the board. Higgins gone. Devonta Smith is gone. Debo. So it's Debo and DK Metcalf back to back. It probably makes sense for us to take one of Debo and Metcalf or Hockenson, whichever one we want to lean on. Cross our fingers that Gibbs is still there at our next pick, because it's more likely those teams will load up on Metcalf, Debo, Hockenson, and we don't want to take Gibbs and then miss out on them, because I do kind of see a drop off into a tier I don't love as much. And again, since we can start 4, I think that's the route we want to go. So even though Gibbs is ranked higher, I think we take that chance. The question is, do we want Hockenson or do we want one of these players? I don't know. This will be the first decision I ask you guys. What would you do? This spot, do you take Hawkins? Oh, I didn't even notice that. We've got a Kelsey, Mark Andrews build going on here. Kelsey, Lamb, Olave, Mark Andrews. To answer everyone's question, no, you shouldn't do that. This person has effectively drafted Mark Andrews as a tight end. Or as a wide receiver. If Mark Andrews were a wide receiver, he would be going later in the draft. You do not take 2 tight ends this early unless you are in a tight end premium league. I promise. It's just how the math works out. The only reason he's going in this range is because he's a tight end. Don't do it. Unless you're doing a weird build on like Underdog where you can take advantage of like weird outcomes. Not in a redraft league. Don't do that. But yeah, let me know. Would you take Hockenson or would you take the other guys? I guess if we're thinking about ADP, technically Hockenson is earliest in ADP. So there's like if we get a situation where all these players are off the board, he's at least the least likely to be there at our next pick. I think that's the route I want to go, because I also don't even know choosing between Metcalf and Debo. So let's do that. Let's take Hockenson. Let's hope. Watch the draft board. Worst case scenario has occurred. Both of these teams decide to go 4 running back starts. This team's got Bijan, Chubb, Harris, and Gibbs. And the team next to him's got McCaffrey, Breece Hall, Etienne, Dobbins. And then they, of course, take Debo and Metcalf, the two players we were looking for. And then Dameon Pierce also comes off the board, the running back we were looking at. So a horrific turn of events for us. Fortunately, we do still have Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders, my 39th ranked player. We're at 44. I have no wide receivers ahead of that. He is my top ranked player overall. Besides, I have Montgomery right next to him, but Montgomery, a lower ADP. We can take advantage of that. Always pay attention to those ADPs there. But yeah, I think Miles Sanders here makes a lot of sense. We already have two stud wide receivers. We've got our tight end unlock. Quarterback, you could consider it. I do have Joe Burrow next at 45, but I don't really want to reach for quarterback because there's going to be a lot of really good opportunities for quarterback throughout drafts. So that my lean would be away from that. Take the value with Miles Sanders. They're talking about, they want to get him to like 50 receptions. They want to be featuring him in the receiving game. He's got no competition. He's a good player. Best contract for a running back this offseason. Like, everything is going his way. And waiting may have paid off because now looks like we still have Joe Burrow. After we go, Lamar goes in round 5. No one else goes. Kittle goes in round 5. And then we've got 5 running backs, 5 wide receivers. Rachaad White goes in round 5. Not as crazy as you might think, given how the draft went for him free agency so far. David Montgomery also goes this early in round 5. Joe Mixon, James Cook, Swift. Yep. And then Amari Cooper, Hopkins, DJ Moore, Drake London, Tyler Lockett. Nothing crazy has happened so far. Really good ADPs so far. Our options. These are good values for the tight ends, but we already have our tight end. So maybe this should play into when we kind of look back. Like Goddard's still there, Pitt's still there, Waller's still there. I still like the value we got for Hawkinson, but maybe we'll look back and think it was a mistake. I don't see anything at wide receiver. I mean, Godwin, McLaurin, Watson, Judy, Ridley, like Pittman, Mike Williams, Evans, Ayuk, like all really good players, all not separated by that much. We have a 100% chance of getting one of them at our next pick. There's only 6 picks after us. I don't really see a need to go there. Quarterback. I mean, now we're at pick 57. Now Joe Burrow, my 45th ranked player, is top on the board. I see no reason why you would avoid that. You could go with Fields if you wanted to. I just think Burrow just projects better. It's just a better pick at this spot. So our team so far, as you're listening along on the podcast, Joe Burrow, Austin Eckler, Miles Sanders, Stephon Diggs, Garrett Wilson, TJ Hawkinson. I think that's awesome. I think that's a really, really good start, really strong start. Likely we don't take any more quarterbacks or tight ends. We'll draft, what is that? That's 8. I can really just make it even. 4 and 4, 4 more running backs, 4 more wide receivers, call it a day with defense, and we'll get on out of here. Big run at tight end. Just notice this. So after we draft, Godwin, McLaurin, Fields, Waller, Goddard, Pitts. So I could have been furious here, just being like, oh, there's no way, right? There's no way 3 tight ends come off the board and they would all come off the board. And I would have been pretty upset if that had happened. So still like our Hawkinson pick, but if I think about it, like let's say we could have gotten Pitts in round 7. I think Pitts in round 7 is probably a better value than Hawkinson in round 4, even though it's like early 7 and late 4. I think that's a better value. But really it just comes down to, would you rather Gibbs and Pitts? Let's just say it happened that way. Gibbs and Pitts, or Hawkinson and who would be the top running back here? Ooh. I mean, let's also make it. Oh yeah, there's really nothing that would have fallen there. I mean, it's Hawkinson and like grossness. I mean, I guess James Conner, but like I just wouldn't draft a running back. I'd go to wide receiver. So I guess we're going like across here. Calvin Ridley. I think Calvin Ridley is our top player. It's close. No, it's not close. It's Calvin Ridley. And we'll end up taking him. But yeah, which outcome is better there? Hawkinson and Calvin Ridley, or Gibbs and Pitts. I think it's very, very close, and I think it just depends on the person you're asking there. But I'm going to take Calvin Ridley. Not going to play the ADP game. Ridley and Watson, who would have been the next ranked player, both would not have been available at the next pick. So take Calvin Ridley. Still, I mean, running back, really, like, the cliff falls off. We went with like a modified hero RB, taking Miles Sanders still. I just don't see a reason to take running back unless you wanted to go with Kamara. I mean, if you wanted to take Kamara here, hope he doesn't get suspended, or it's just like, 2 to 4 games, and then when he comes back, he's awesome. But like, they like the rookie that they drafted. They brought in Jamal Williams, who's, let's be honest, going to steal goal line work. The upside is much, much lower than previous seasons for Kamara, and then you bake in, you're missing him for, I mean, my guess is 6 games, but I don't know. I just don't love it. I don't love taking him there. I feel like we'll go with wide receiver. My guess is that Burks is probably the top-ranked player. They're all gone. McLaurin's off the board, right? Yeah. Off the board. Pittman off the board. Judy gone. Ayuk gone. So I have JSN. It keeps coming down JSN in these mock drafts until Fantasy Pros moves them up. But JSN, Addison, Tony. Is Tony on the board? No. Oh, yeah, he's on the board. Tony. Okay, so Burke's not necessarily at the top. I'm a little bit weary of Kirk, and I'm not going to take him, obviously, on a team that I have Calvin Ridley, but if Calvin Ridley comes in and is a clear alpha, which I think he can be, obviously I just drafted him, that's going to hurt Christian Kirk. So not in love with that. Not in love with just this Arizona offense in general. And then I would want Marquise Brown more in like a best ball format. We're going to capture that upside. But yeah, I don't like anything at running back. I don't want those two. And so it's like, do I play the ADP game and say Burks is here? My top ranked player, who did I even say it was? I said JSN. I mean, JSN's much more likely to be there at the next pick. I can take Burks and then JSN. And if JSN's not there, I can just take Addison or Tony. Like, it really wouldn't make that much of a difference. I think that's the way we go. And then we probably go with like just high upside rookie running backs after that. We could look at Madison. Report came out that looking more likely that Dalvin Cook's going to get cut. I think it's June 1st. They have to wait until that happens, and then they can cut him after that and save a bunch of money. But like my guess right now is that he gets cut and he goes to Denver. Like, that's just my guess. And if that happens, Madison's going to be an incredible pick. So he should be someone we have in the back of our mind right now. But I just don't want this whole range ahead of him. So let's do Burks. We'll leave ourselves options at the next pick. Kamara is honestly still there. But like, I just don't know. Like, these wide receivers are such good value. Like, even Jahan, Addison, Njigba, Tony, Brandon Cooks, Bateman has upside this season. After that, I feel like we see a drop off, and it's like, I want 2 more. Like, I want 2 from that group. Are we at the short turn here? We're at the longer turn, so more likely that we don't get a player we want. Basically, what I'm considering right now is I could also just take Kamara, be like, hey, it's the 9th round. I know I've said like his upside isn't as high, but he's still Alvin Kamara. He could still be awesome. Like, at the 9th round, I take him. I could take Madison at the next pick and just grab 2 guys who in different paths, but like both have chances to be running back ones behind 2 players that I also think can be running back ones. It's just that like, it's so intriguing being like, what if I could grab Jahan and like Jackson or Addison or something? Like, do I think there's a chance that happens? Where do they have? So ADP, they have Jahan here. He'd very likely go. And Jigba would probably go. Addison would probably go. All right. So, I mean, they're saying it's like a 50-50 chance that I get Tony. I feel like the right move here is take Kamara. If I get one of the wide receivers, so be it. I mean, look at my roster right now. I do already have Diggs, Garrett, Ridley, Burks. It'll just be icing on the cake if I get one of them. If not, I could probably take Madison. It's pretty unlikely that like Madison plus them all go. Take the upside of Kamara. I know it's risky, but it's also the 9th round. Let's see what happens. Horrible things have happened, unfortunately. Oh, no. Oh, that's dreadful. So after our pick, literally back to back to back, goes Dotson, Addison, and Jigba. Brandon Cooks come off the board. Tony's off the board. And 2 picks before us, Madison off the board. Horrible. Wow. So we've gotten pretty unlucky in this one. We were hoping that they wouldn't take their 4th running backs in a row. We get that happening early in the draft. We're hoping that one of those players doesn't get drafted. All of them get drafted. So not great. Not a great turn of events. But we're going to power through. This is what happens in these leagues. Jamal wouldn't be a bad pick here. You guys know I'm a risky drafter. Unless I've got a ton of money in a league, I'd rather just go big or go home. Be like, hey, in this league, I'm assuming almost no suspension for Kamara, or like 2 games, doesn't matter. He comes back and he's awesome. If you're like, no, I want to play it safe, Jamal Williams here would be a good pick. If Kamara misses 6 games, you will be able to slide in Jamal Williams into like a flex spot. It'd be perfectly fine. Then once Kamara comes back, you can use him. You can really just like always have that position filled, and you're spending a 9th and a 10th round pick on it, which are low success rate rounds anyways. Again, I'm a risky player. I would prefer, no, I want to live in the world where Kamara is awesome, and that means Jamal is a bad pick, and I want all of my bench picks to go off, and so I'd rather just take a bunch of shots. So I don't think I'll be doing that, but we'll see. I think the most intriguing pick here is Quentin Johnston. I wouldn't say I'm like a huge believer he's going to break out, because as I've said in I think like 2 videos this week, when you have Eckler on my team, you've got Eckler catching passes, Keenan Allen catching passes, Mike Williams catching passes, Gerald Everett catching passes. Like you've got a ton of people. I know they have an elevated pass play rate. They're going to throw a ton of balls, but like that's a lot of players catching targets ahead of him. But then I was doing the rookie write-up, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing write-ups on like everyone right now. And I'm like, well, Keenan Allen's getting older, and it's happened a lot where both, how many times have Mike Williams and Keenan Allen both been healthy and Austin Eckler healthy? It's like, when have they all been healthy? It's like, not that often. And if there are going to be some weeks this season where Quentin Johnston's the number 2 wide receiver and he's athletic as he is, like, I could see it. I could see a true breakout happening. He's someone they want to get the ball running across the field on screen passes. They just want to get the ball into his hands because he's a huge playmaker after the catch. They don't really have that right now. Like, you're not giving the ball to Mike Williams like 10 yards downfield and expecting him to make like 6 people miss and break it for a touchdown. You're expecting Mike Williams to go 50 yards downfield, catch the ball, and hopefully score the touchdown that way. Or Keenan Allen, catch the ball in the middle of the field and maybe make someone miss, but probably not. Johnson's just different. He fits a different role in this offense, and I could see them really utilizing that and him breaking out. And it's like, I want that path for everyone I'm drafting in this range. And when I look at these other players, it's like, I think Juju can be good, but it's the Patriots, right? I'm a Patriots fan, and I still hate that offense. They're pathetic, right? They're not going to be good this season. I think Mac Jones is going to hit Juju for 100 receptions. And even if that were to happen, it's for 1,000 yards flat and 4 touchdowns. Like, it's not going to be a highly productive offense. So the upside isn't as great. Jameson Williams, well, he's suspended for 6 games. And if Kamara's going to do that too, I would prefer to not have my first 2 bench players suspended for the first month and a half of the season. So probably don't want to go there. Mooney's the number 2 on a very low volume offense. Michael Thomas, let's be honest, is he going to stay healthy this season? Good upside pick, but probably not going to stay healthy. So it's like you start working through all these picks and you're like, well, why don't I just go with the hyper athletic rookie who the team's very excited about, that is also playing with players who have struggled mightily staying healthy. I don't know. That feels like a good pick. So we'll go with him there. And yes, I'm totally fine doing Eckler and Quentin. It's a good offense. Okay. 4 left, then defense. I want an upside running back. I already have 5 wide receivers. I want an upside running back with this pick, especially looking at running back right now. I mean, there's no one that is like, or wide receivers, no one's standing out to me. Rashad Penny is obviously an upside running back. Damian Harris, to an extent. I don't want Gibson. I don't want Algier as a pure handcuff. I don't want Mitchell. I don't want Jeff Wilson. So basically don't want most of the players in here. But then I look at Rashad Penny, and I'm like, well, if you can stay healthy behind that offensive line on that offense, they're obviously going to utilize Swift, but you wouldn't know they're not giving Swift like 20 carries. Yeah. We're looking for upside. You know, Penny might only play 3 games and then break his leg again, but like he's going to be quite good in the games that he is playing. Getting that as your, honestly, hey, if he can stay healthy enough for Kamara to come back from suspension, I can rotate him in there. Probably wouldn't even start him week 1. Would probably start Burks, but I don't know, because it would depend on how camp reports are looking at that point. But yeah, high upside pick. Just take Rashad Penny. After that, 3 picks left. My lean in situations like this is to just look for like, who do I think I can get at like, these 2 picks here? Like, is there any like slam dunks I know are probably going to be there? And typically that happens at rookie wide receiver. If we kind of extend out wide receiver right here and we're looking at who could we be taking? I mean, Dobbs, not a rookie, but he'll probably be available later. We know that we've seen some rookies down here. Downs will be available later. Mingo available later. I'm sure I just missed him, but like Marvin Mims probably available later. Someone we really like. So there will be options for us. My guess is we should probably end that last pick. Just say, let's just take whichever rookie wide receiver we really like. So we've got Diggs, Garrett Wilson, Ridley, Burks, Quentin Johnston. Let's take 1 wide receiver. So let's just take that wide receiver late, and let's just take 2 running backs we like. Let's take 2 running backs we want. We'll have plenty of running backs to rotate through things. The wide receiver late, defense, and we'll call it after that. So looking at running back, if we're just looking at the rankings, I don't feel like sorting by running back in the rankings right now. I have to imagine Damian Harris to be the top guy. What if like Dalvin Cook suffered an injury? We know Harris at least can catch the football. What if, Josh Allen doesn't run for as many touchdowns? Well, that benefits Damian Harris. Maybe they give him the ball more at the goal line. It's obviously a very good offense. He could easily just like run in 12 touchdowns this season in high scoring games. We know he's got high touchdown upside. Just like a quality pick who's probably shouldn't be available this late. Another player we can look at for some upside, Devon A-Chain would be a great pick. Kendre Miller would be a great pick. Honestly, I would absolutely take Kendre Miller here. I probably should have taken him in that last pick. That's the real handcuff that you would want. Like, he could easily be better than Jamal Williams. And if the Kamara pick doesn't work out, it is probably because Kendre Miller worked out. And I'm much more likely to want to do this handcuff at 9 and 13 instead of 9 and 10. That's the pick. You take Miller there. Honestly, I was saying these rookies, but if we didn't have Garrett Wilson, I would probably take Allen Lazard here. Allen Lazard working out really hurts Wilson, which we don't want to do. We don't want an outcome where it's like, oh, people thought it was going to be Garrett Wilson and Lazard, and actually it's this. That is a horrific outcome if we draft both of them, because now it's like our early pick isn't as good. Our late pick's good, but not good enough really to make our starting lineup consistently. We don't want to live in a world where the Lazard pick really works out. So that's a phenomenal value. We're not going to go with it just because of that. Who would be? I actually do want to sort by wide receiver and see who the top wide receiver we would have is, because I'm curious about this range. Let's see. So Jameson Williams did go off the board. He would be the top at that point. It is Lazard. So Lazard's our top option. Then it's Boyd, but I hate drafting Tyler Boyd because on average, he's going to be fine, but he's never going to be like, oh, I'm using Boyd every week as my wide receiver too. So it's just not going to happen. So I wouldn't want to do that. I'd love Elijah Moore here. He's off the board. Bateman is off the board. If you wanted to take Odell for the upside, you could. He actually is the next ranked player. I wouldn't hate it, but I don't know. I don't buy it with Odell. I don't think it's gonna happen. It's so intriguing though. I guess we're looking for pure upside. I don't know. Who would you guys go with this pick? It's basically your option is you take Lazard and you hate yourself because you did something terrible, which I don't think is the right move. You take Odell or you take one of these rookies. Again, like I said, Downs would be a top option. Mingo would be a great option. I'm pretty sure Mims is just like, yeah, Mims is buried at like 104. Mims would be a great option. It's just like the offense for Odell. Like they're not going to throw the ball. You know Andrews is going to be used more. Or actually, I don't know. They're going to throw the ball more. It's just they're never going to be a pass first team. So Andrews will be the one. I'm thinking Flowers is the two. But I guess would I be shocked if Odell, just because Lamar really likes him, they develop a chemistry, and Odell's really the number one wide receiver on the team? I suppose it could happen. Whatever. We'll just do it. It probably should. Like, this isn't even a real league. It probably shouldn't actually matter too much for us with this pick. We want Saints. If you guys saw what I tweeted out, Saints face horrific quarterback play this season. But yeah, it probably shouldn't matter as much with that last pick, but I guess my lead would probably be Mingo or Odell with that pick. So here's our lineup. Starting lineup, week 1, Joe Burrow, Austin Eckler, Miles Sanders, Stephon Diggs, Garrett Wilson, TJ Hawkinson, Calvin Ridley, Treylon Burks, Saints D. On the bench, we've got the Kamara Kendre Miller stack. We've got Quentin Johnston, Rashad Penny, Damian Harris, and Odell. I think that's a very, very good team. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And also, forgot to mention this, we are going live Tuesday, 6:30 Eastern, which is tomorrow for you guys. I record these, you guys know, on the Friday before the mock draft Monday. So if anyone happened to break their leg, I don't know about it yet. But yeah, we're doing Underdog drafts live. Come with any questions you have on like players, on strategies, anything like that. We'll draft a team live with you guys, and we'll talk about any questions you guys have there. Again, it's tomorrow, Tuesday, 6:30 Eastern. That, my friends, is in this one. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, how about hitting the like button? How about subscribing to the channel if you're new here? Thanks for watching.